Bay here. Welcome back to the program. Let's go ahead and get started on it. The betrayals and lies have already begun. Well, what are we talking about? The Democratic Alliance's federal chairperson Helen Zille has already said that why does the light keeps shifting here? It said that a coalition with the ANC is possible. It's workable. So the DA lied to its voters and is already talking about a coalition with the ANC. Also, the ANC, which adamantly said that it would never go into coalition, we're going to be above 50%. The ANC is now actively stating for public consumption that they will do what the will of the voters is, and they will go into coalition as necessary. At this hour, 4 p.m. in South Africa, the votes have largely been counted. So we hear from the Independent Electoral Commission that most of the votes have been counted. Let's see, 71.76 of voting districts have been brought in. The Eastern Cape stands at 92% of the vote counted. The Free State is at 95%. The Western Cape at 88%. KZN at 75%. And the Northern Cape vote count is complete. So we will get the final results this weekend, most likely. Also, the IEC said that their voting system did not crash this morning, I should say. That just the board was not updated properly, but no data was lost. And that's a situation this hour. Most of the votes have been counted, and they'll soon finish counting probably this evening the way things are going, the rest of the votes across South Africa. What is very clear is this is a repudiation of the African National Congress of the highest order. They have been smacked. They've been given a PK. They've been hit upside the head very hard. The ANC dropping below 42% now. They have been trending downwards. The ANC is declining, and the MK party is rising. The MK party, when I first started reporting on this phenomenon, was at about 9.5% of the vote. Well, actually, there were 7. They rose to 9 as votes in KZN, and Mpumalanga, and Gauteng came in. They rose to 9. Then they went past the EFF yesterday, and they've never looked back. The EFF is declining, and the MK party continues to rise. Since today, earlier this morning, they've gone from 10.5% of the vote to 11, to 11.5, to 12. They're now over 12% of the vote. Meanwhile, the ANC has declined from 43 to less than 42. Not a good development. The Democratic Alliance is hovering around 23%, and there you have it. So the third largest party in parliament will now be MK, not the EFF. So that's an interesting development. So let me just get you an update right here. The total number of votes cast. This will be a brief stream, about 40 minutes. I have a teleconference I have to do after this. Imagine being that useless you can't rob a bank while the vault is left up. Exactly. So with the ANC now has 41.78% of the vote. Remember, in 2019, they got 57% of the popular vote. This is a complete repudiation. There's a 16-point loss already. They have just 4,136,000 votes. Let me put this in context for you. We still have a small percentage of the vote to be added in here, but the ANC got 10 million votes in the last election in 2019. They have 4,100,000. Democratic Alliance not faring a whole lot better. They've held their own with a lot of attacks against them, but they've not gained. The Democratic Alliance has 2,234,000 votes. And the MK party, yes, I know that it's just the bumhurt faction of the ANC, but so is the EFF, so is COPE. MK has 12.16%, and that number continues to rise as a percentage of the vote coming in, and the actual numbers. They have 203,000 votes. That is an incredible performance by MK thus far. For a party that lacked a manifesto, a campaign situation, funding offices, a candidate, they're accused of faking the signatures, all that going on, and they're doing it. No, Julius Malema, Julius Malema is not going to do it. And Cyril Ramaphosa may get nominated for president, but he's not going to get the votes. Cyril Ramaphosa will not be president. He will not get sufficient votes. He won't get the 200 plus 1 votes. He's done. This is his history for him. He's gone. And the ANC might nominate someone that people vote for, but he's done. So at this hour, 4:25 Central Africa time here in South Africa, 69% of the vote has been turned in. The ANC with less than 42%, the DA with 22.5%, MK with 12.16%, and the EFF with not even 1 million votes thus far. They have 940,000 or 9.5% of the vote. The IFP has climbed up a bit as the KZN votes have come in. They're now at 3%. That's a better improvement for them. They had a big jump from earlier. And then the Patriotic Alliance, one of the big winners, has 251,000 votes at 2.5. The Freedom Front Plus is a major loser in this election. Freedom Front Plus is down 145,000 votes. They had over 440,000 in the 2019 election. This is a disaster for them. Action SA, very embarrassing performance by Herman Mashaba's party, just 1.1%. That is low. ACDP is toast, just 60,000 votes. The UDM at just 54,000 votes, and it goes down from there. But the real losers in this are all these breakaway parties and parties of personality like Musi Maimani's Bossa, Rise, Mzansi. These parties have achieved nothing. Rise, Mzansi has 39,744 votes. The OHM will get 10,000. Really, Sean, I don't see, I'll have to take a look at that down list there. And Bossa has 38,500. Those are just a fraction of a percent. Al Jamai at 27,000. The Pan-African Congress at 24,000. And Auntie Tani Pat from the Good Party has just 22,470 votes. That is less than 1/4% for the Good Party. They're good for nothing in this election. And will that be the political end of Patricia DeLille? Who knows? We'll see. Moving down the list here, the United Independent Movement of Neil De Beer has 12,888 votes. That's 0.13% of the vote. They were hoping for 1%. They're a long way from that. COPE, 9,200 votes. This is a party that garnered 8.5% of the electorate when they broke away from the ANC. Molantla would be a good choice for the ANC. He would probably get elected. People could probably deal with him. But yeah, Sean, that's a good question. Who will be the candidate? Because the ANC will have to put somebody forward, but they don't have enough votes to get them elected, so they're going to have to put someone that's acceptable to others. The Zapo's still floating around. They've got 12,000 votes. And we work our way down to a few other things here. So I'm looking for the OHM. There's OHM. I don't know where you're getting 10,000 votes from. OHM has 3,456 votes with virtually the entire Western Cape counted. They're not going to reach 4,000 votes. That's my prediction. The OHM will not reach 4,000 votes. They have 3,456 votes. So let's get to the referendum party. The referendum party has 2,682 votes. Now that's unfortunate for that organization. Virtually nobody voting for them. Wow. They had a lot of high hopes. They were hoping to get 100,000. 10,000 would have been respectable, but 2,600 is not going to get it done. So a number of votes outstanding in Mpumalanga province, Northwest, also in KZN, but most in the Eastern Cape. Most of the rest of the country has been counted. Those jurisdictions in the Eastern Cape may make the percentage for the ANC climb again. So it's not a done deal that they're going to finish it below 42%. They could pick up some more there. Well, my mustache looks kind of weird there. There we go. All right. So that's the situation this hour. The ANC has just 40% of the actual raw votes that it had in 2019 at this stage. They only have 40%. So we'll see where they go from here. There's still ways to go with the vote totals coming in, but this is crazy. So let me get to the story where the federal chairperson of the Democratic Alliance has said something. Let me see if the media has misquoted her. So hang on a second here. Where did the story go? Oh, don't tell me it's gone. The ANC, DA, and IFP Grand Coalition on the cards for KZN, Gauteng, and National. Well, one of my coalition options that I presented, ladies and gentlemen, if you go back and watch my video from 6 weeks ago, was in fact the Grand Coalition, which would give them the ANC and then the multi-party charter. So the independent line is suggesting that right now. Wow. Action SA President Herman Mashaba is among party leaders who are not pleased how MK is running the show in the national and provincial elections. Currently, the top 5 contenders for the polls, and the EFF is kicked to the floor. Yep. Let me see. I'm trying to find this thing where it said that Helen Zillow. Now it's no longer here. It was here a few minutes ago. Did they take the story down? Let me go back and see if I can find that story again. Yeah, here it is. ANC working together is an option, said Zillow. Let me just do a search for that in this article here. All right, why is it not showing up here? I think this article, is it clickbait? That's why I want to get to this. So finding page Zillow. Okay, there it is. Okay. DA plus ANC, that's an option. DA Federal Council Federal Chairperson said they'll meet with other leaders in the multi-party charter and with the DA Federal Executive to consider the DA's plans going forward. After 63% of the votes have been counted, the DA was at 22.88, that's dropped. ANC at 41.86, that's dropped. MK at 11.8, that's risen. Ursula says, Steve said he would not go with ANC today. He said he's not ruling them out. If he goes with them, I'll never vote for him again. Yeah, well, yes, exactly. Ravani says MK's popularity. Elections are a joke. I mean, look at the lady who didn't vote for me because I was in the military when Obama was importing Muslims, and I'm not a Christian because of that. As if I, one of 78,000 commissioned officers in the United States Army, have any influence over the chief executive of the United States is doing. What a joke. Asked if the DA would be willing to work with the ANC, Helen Zilla told the IOL, that's one of many options. When a party falls below 50%, there are many options. One of the options is to put a minority government in place and have confidence in the supply model. A minority government would put the biggest party in the government, and the biggest opposition party would demand significant concessions. Zilla said the ANC had not approached them, but she was then seen embracing ANC Deputy Secretary General Nomvulo Mokunyane and Chairperson Gwede Mantashe quickly after speaking with the IOL. Well, there you go. There you go. So the DA will betray South Africans. We knew it. We knew it, right? We knew it. Hang on a second. I've got a message here I've got to check on. Just a second. All right, sorry about that, folks. I had to go old school and come outside. We lost the signal. So I'm outside now. Wow. Sorry about that. Wow, there we go. So now you can see Table Mountain in the background there. Over there is Table Mountain right there. Anyway, sorry about that. So now I'll answer your questions here in the chat. And I won't be able to look at the laptop and read the news stories, but I can tell you what's going on here. So thanks for sticking with me here. An ANC DA coalition makes perfect sense. The DA don't do it, then the future woes will be on their shoulders. This will be a coalition for everyone. Well, John Jarvis, as you recall, I believe you actually watched my video talking about Carter going into coalition with the African National Congress for the good of the country. That looks like a real possibility now, one of my coalition options here. So the IFP also said they wouldn't go into coalition with the ANC. So if they do, they're going to have to eat crow as well. Guys, relax, ANC, MK, if we'll come up with a deal. Don't hold your breath on that, Arctic. Don't hold your breath on that. But the bottom line here is that some significant political personalities, you can write their obituary now politically. Some people are simply going to disappear. I'm not going to predict who it is because you don't know the machinations internally in politics, but a number of political leaders should resign and step aside because of their epic failure in this election. Again, the big winners thus far are MK and the Patriotic Alliance, and for different reasons. MK will, of course, be the largest party in KwaZulu-Natal, and then they got 10% in Gauteng. They did well in Mpumalanga with about 18%, and the ANC was hovering below 50% in Mpumalanga. Now they're up to 50%. So if they get them back below 50% when all the votes are counted, that could put them in a tough spot. The PA got 10% here in the Western Cape, but about 3% and gaining on the national level. The DA was running an ad that PA will form coalition with the ANC. Look at who is thinking. What's this? Hey, welcome there, Steve Van Vyk. I hadn't seen you in a while there. Yeah, so the bottom line here with all of this nonsense is that the DA and the PA for different reasons, or not the DA, the MK and the PA for different reasons are the big winners thus far. We still have about 30% of the vote to be counted, the polling precincts still coming in. The IEC says all those votes are counted, they just haven't really. So multi-party charter taking control of legislative ANC, just keeping things. Well, we'll see what happens, folks, but go back and watch my video from 6 weeks ago in which I put out the Armageddon Coalition, the Zimbabwe for South Africa Coalition, the Grand Coalition. It looks like we might wind up with a Grand Coalition here. Now, if the ANC goes into a coalition with the DA, they don't need anybody else. But if the DA does that and doesn't do it under the guise of the multi-party charter, they will never get elected to anything ever again. Their voters will abandon them en masse. However, if the Democratic Alliance approaches its multi-party charter coalition partners and gets them a seat at the table as well as part of a grand coalition with the angry, naughty children, then we may see a very different dynamic taking place. We'll also see a lot of odd things. We'll see a cabinet full of people from tiny parties. We'll see a deputy president from a minor party. And we will see the expulsion of the hippo himself, the lying hippopotamus there, Cyril Ramaphosa, will be gone. So a lot can happen here, folks. Final results being Sunday. Yes, we believe that's the case, Jeanette. The final results being Sunday. They've counted all the votes according to the IEC. They reported that in the last hour. So all the votes are counted, but they haven't all been posted. And so if you're wondering why I'm standing outside, it's because the signal dropped off inside and I didn't want people to keep waiting to reconnect. It's bad enough when you buffer because data's bad. So the internet connection here won't work on either mobile phone. It will work on my laptop. So I stepped outside. I'm on the beach at Blaubergstrand. You can see the waves lapping behind me there. And Table Mountain off in the distance. You can see Lion's Head. And if you look a little further, Signal Hill there. Robben Island is just located right here off my left shoulder. And that's where I'm at. Cold front coming to the Cape. Took awesome weather back here. Oh, by the way, for those who are watching or in the area, we do have a meet and greet at 6 p.m. tonight. The meet and greet is at the Kapstadt Brauhaus, which is just up the street here. It's walking distance for drunks. About 700 meters from where I'm standing right now. So that's at 6 p.m. tonight. I may be a couple minutes late, and if people get the table, it's in my name, and we'll join you. There's also a band there tonight, but if anybody wants to come to Blaubergstrand, Eden on the Bay, to the Kapstadt Brauhaus, please come join us. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully we'll have a good turnout. It was a short notice. Today was another busy day, although I took some time this morning to collect myself. But let's go back to it very quickly here, folks. There is now talk, Helen Zilla's put it on the floor, that the DA could consider a coalition with the angry, naughty children. A lot of people said that they would betray voters and do that. A lot of people said they would do that. Well, you may be right, out of practicality. But again, you can run a government with a minority plurality government. In other words, if you have more than any other party, you can govern. But you can't get anything accomplished because you have to coerce or bribe other parties to vote with you on issues and bills and on electing the head of the parliament, who is the president. So the ANC doesn't want to go through those machinations most likely. Now the ANC, which has been very arrogant, we are going to get 50+1, we are not going to fall, total nonsense. They have dropped precipitously, and now with their tail between their legs, the Deputy Secretary General of the African National Congress is saying that the ANC will recognize the will of the people and go into a coalition. You knew this was coming. This is a mea culpa for these arrogant politicians, and they deserve it. They deserve it. Thanks so much for the updates. So you're very welcome. I'm missing some of the chat here. I'm outside. Historical smaller parties, joint venture, end up much worth. Look, folks, I did tell you that one of the problems with South Africa after this election is that it's going to resemble Italy, post-war Italy, where Italy had 78 governments or something like that from 1945 until after 2000. I mean, they changed their governments like changing suits. By the way, big losers in this election, big losers, ANC, 57% in 2019, down below 42% at this hour and declining. Doesn't mean they won't go back up because there's votes in Mpumalanga that haven't been counted and also in Eastern Cape, and those are all ANC, so their number might go back up. But the ANC major loser, and the other major loser is Juju. Where is Julius Malema running his loud, race-hustling mouth? Nowhere to be found. Juju is nowhere to be found. And you know what? The political environment is so much better as a consequence of that. So much better as a consequence of Julius Malema having his mouth shut. But that won't last. He's Juju. He'll get his mouth open again. So the ANC, the EFF, major losers. In addition, anti-Pat, Tani Pat, Patricia DeLille. The Good Party has less votes than Party today. Wow. Wow, that is incredible. Be sidelined. You are correct, Tendo, thankfully. To safe south, there must be no ANC at all. Well, yes, Ravani, but, you know, more people got to go vote properly. The view is cinematic. Hey, who's that? Is it Ntuku? Hey, welcome to you. Yeah. So that is a cinematic view. That is incredible with Table Mountain, Lion's Head, and Signal Hill all behind me. The Blaubergstrand, the beach right there. You can hear the waves lapping. I hope you guys can hear me well. Yeah. So another disappointment, and nothing against the Action SA party. I had some great interaction with them on Election Day. Thank you very much for allowing me to follow the party around through Kailichi and also meeting up at Somerset West. But the results had to be a little disappointing for Herman Mashaba. Just 1% of the vote at this hour, but it has crept up. He was much lower than that. I think a lot of votes came in Gauteng, which pushed the number up. So with 1%, the Action SA could be a player in a multi-party coalition, in a grand coalition with the DA and IFP and others going into the ANC. But Neil De Beer's party was hoping for 1%. They're at 1/10 of that now at 0.13%. The Freedom Front Plus, that party had over 440,000 votes in 2019. At this hour, they have about 150,000 votes, with 70% of the precincts reporting. That's not good for them. If that trend holds, they'll lose almost half of their seats in Parliament, and they'll be relegated further down. That will make the largest parties at the moment the ANC, the DA, MK, EFF, and then IFP, and then further down, much further down, you find that now General Bantu Holomisa's party is also polling only about 0.5%. So the bottom line here, ladies and gentlemen, in South Africa's elections at this hour on this day, Friday, May 31st, 2024, is that the ANC has been repudiated, and the EFF has also been repudiated, and this cult of personality, with the exception of two parties, is not working. The two parties with the cult of personality are working are MK, Jacob Zuma, and the Patriotic Alliance with Gabe McKenzie. Other than that, it's simply not working. So we have the doomsday scenario. Well, I didn't call it doomsday, I called it Armageddon. The Grand Coalition isn't doomsday. It's not good, none of them. Chris Blaubergstein, you definitely chose the best day, absolutely stunning weatherman. Yeah, no, the weatherman loves me, man. He does. He absolutely loves me. It is pretty nice. Yesterday I was at Nordhoek, going down the peninsula, visiting with Helmut Heitman, defense analyst and a friend of mine. We spoke for 2.5 hours. I came back around Chapman's Peak, which I haven't done in over 2 decades. Drove into Hout Bay, a place I once upon a time was going to buy a house and didn't do it. And then I drove through the pass to get to Constantia, and it was like the floodgates opened. The rain was, you couldn't see more than 10 or 15 meters. It was crazy. I got outside of Constantia, drove north, and as soon as I got past Table Mountain, the sky was clear, not a drop in the sky. The roads were dry up here. And today, once again, it's absolutely beautiful out here. Perfect weather. Of course, you know, I'm wearing shorts, as I always do, in this kind of weather. So anyway, let me get back to the chat here very quickly. So perhaps not evident at the present moment, but the chaff is separated from wood. Yes, it is. Okay. Is Blue Peter Pub still there? Well, Blue Peter Hotel is still here. Is that where it's at? Yeah, the PA crushed the good party. Patricia DeLille can no longer claim the mantle of leadership for the colored community in Western Cape. If anybody wants to make that claim, it's the DA, or if someone makes it based on personality, then it is the PA. Juju crawled into a Tonga. The ANC, MK, and EFF do not have 67. They do not. ANC has 41%. MK has 12, that's 53%. EFF has 9, that's 61%. They don't have 67%. Arctic, you're usually pretty sharp. You're pretty sharp. They do not have 67%, so they cannot change the Constitution with that alliance. But how would ANC-DA, and what about corruption? Well, Freelance Kate, if you watch my videos, I did this in the analysis, and I told people exactly what's going to happen. If this grand coalition that I suggested comes to fruition, which would be the multi-party charter parties aligning with the ANC, would give them 70% of the electorate based on the projections in the polls. We have to look at the numbers now. I haven't done the math now. And what would happen is you would have to divide things up. If you had the ANC and the DA go into coalition, which I considered a possibility, if you have that, that is what I call the Zimbabwe for South Africa scenario. And that's a disaster. We have seen this movie before. It's called Zimbabwe in 2008, when the Movement for Democratic Change under Morgan Tsvangirai defeated Robert Gabriel racist Mugabe and defeated his corrupt regime. He got 10% less votes than Morgan Tsvangirai did to be the president of Zimbabwe. And so SADC, the limp-wristed, erectile, dysfunctional Southern African development community, went there and basically did what Mugabe wanted. They allowed Mugabe to stay in government by recognizing his victory, even though he lost, and then endorsing that, and then creating the ceremonial post of prime minister, which had not existed in Zimbabwe since it was removed and eliminated with the 1988 constitution, and when Mugabe was prime minister and became president. So they created a ceremonial post of prime minister for Zimbabwe, and then they gave the finance ministry to Tendai Biti, an intelligent economist from the Movement for Democratic Change. The MDC restored the economy, fixed the broken society, but the intelligence, the judicial system, the police, the the Zimbabwe Defense Force, all the levers of true state power retained by the corrupt, thieving, race-hustling scumbag ZANU-PF. And as a consequence, the country eventually declined again. And when Morgan Tsvangirai died from cancer, the MDC was obliterated as it split in two, and we saw what happened. Faction. So the South Africa coalition is a real possibility. That would be an ANC DA. So the DA would be given the things that are necessary to keep the gravy train of corruption and state capture going for the ANC, where they can stick their fingers in the tenders and still get things, but the country will limp along. But whatever the case is, unless the ANC was driven down to 33%, which they weren't, things are going to be grim for South Africans. Nothing's going to change. Very little will change for the better, and that's the bottom line. I love the clouds over Table Mountain. Aren't they gorgeous? All right, let's go back to the chat here. You assume the DA will roll over and be dominated by the ANC. No, I don't assume anything, John. I don't assume anything at all. You're inferring something I didn't state or imply. No, I'm not assuming anything. I'm telling you what will come out, and that has nothing to do with rollover. So what leverage do you think the DA with 22% of the vote is going to have with the ANC? The ANC doesn't have to have the DA to govern. They don't need them. They can get another coalition partner. If the DA doesn't play nice and doesn't agree with them, oh, be quiet, stupid dog over here, then they can go to different partners. They have 42% of the vote. They need 8%. The PA has 3%. That's 3. That takes them to 45. Now they need 5%. There's 5% out there. And there'll be people who betray their constituents to align to get a cushy ministerial job or to get some sort of influence. So it's possible. The ANC, in order to be forced out of government, had to be below 40%. I said that all along. I don't assume anything. But the DA has no strength in this coalition unless they come as the multi-party charter. And then it's different. But if the Helen Zille and John Steenhuisen betray their voters and go to the ANC on their own, they don't have the strength. So they will get the leftovers. They will get the drippings. And the DA will do that because the Democratic Alliance is not a conservative party. They're a liberal party who believes that state control is not a bad thing, that welfare is perfectly okay as long as they administer it, as long as they run the state-owned enterprises. That's what they care about. By the way, what time is it? I got to check on the time. I got a conference here. I got about 10 minutes. Okay. So I can go for a few more minutes here. But I don't assume anything, John. Andre Jacobs. Hey, how you doing there, man? All right, what else you got here? I'm not assuming anything. Stabbing incident in Germany. What the heck? Well, Debbie, surely they can't. Helen Zille interviewed by Independent Online. Then she hugged the Deputy Secretary General of the ANC on camera and spoke to, I believe, Gwede Mantashe too. Didn't Tsvangirai's wife get executed on stage? Tsvangirai's wife was killed in a traffic accident in a car that he was traveling in. I think she did have a seatbelt on, in an accident with a non-governmental organization funded by the United States. Lots of conspiracy theorists out there. I don't think there's anything happened. It's just an unfortunate accident. So I don't think they took her out. So what else we got here? DA won't roll over at all. We know that. Well, we'll see, Freelance Kate. Reddick says they could still get under 40%. Reddick, with 70% of the vote reported, 100% counted, my confidence in the ANC going below 40% at this point is not strong. They're at 41.78 at the moment. But here's the big thing. In 2019, the ANC got 10,600,000 votes, as John Jarvis pointed out in a previous stream. They have 4,300,000 right now. They are not going to get to 6 million. That is a repudiation. But then the DA had 4,005,000 in 2014. They dropped in 2019, and they might not even retain what they had in 2019. James says ANC, MK, PA, EFF. Ooh. Mannheim, Germany, terrorist attack. I used to live near there. 2/3 majority in play. It could be, Arctic, but you got to have the right mix. All right, hit the like button. Yeah, DA has to be decisive now, says Alex Scope. Hey, Alex. Teresa, Chris, ni cool here in Onstorpi, ni net cool. Well, it's not cold here, although people walk around with coats, but I'm not. Reddick says, good point. Well, thank you. I usually make good points. Listen, folks, I hate to broadcast and leave, but I do have a teleconference. And if you are in the Cape Town area and you'd like to come to the meet and greet, we're going to do a meet and greet at 6 p.m. at the Kapstadt Brauhaus, 700 meters that way, walking distance for people intoxicated so they don't have to drive automobiles. Me, perhaps later on. Please come enjoy a Weizen or something like that. Drive responsibly, but enjoy it. Come meet. There's a band playing there tonight. We could have been right next to the band, but then we wouldn't be able to talk. So I've got us at a table, not outside, but outside the main area where the band is. Please come at 6. I may be a few minutes late because I have to put a pair of trousers on instead of shorts. And I'll walk up there so that I can walk back, or someone can give me a ride tonight, whichever the case is. Tomorrow, right over there, behind that ship right there, well, actually not behind the ship too, behind that other ship right there, at DHL Greenpoint Stadium, 1:45, Stormers, final game of the United Rugby Championship regular season. The Stormers in 5th position, so they won't have a home quarterfinal, and they can't advance beyond that, but they need to win to retain that 5th position, so they play the 4th place team, and they will be playing there against the Lions. I'll be at the game, and if anybody is going to Greenpoint tomorrow, you're welcome to link up with me. I'll be going to Victoria and Alfred Waterfront in the morning, parking my car there. I'll be hanging around, then going to the stadium before the game. Anybody wants to join me or hang out, you're welcome to do that. And then I'll be staying in town tomorrow night before I head down to Betty's Bay on Sunday, and then Somerset West on Monday and Tuesday, before I'm off to Gauteng on Wednesday. And I'll be back in the Western Cape at the end of my trip. I'll be speaking on the 20th of June at the Reformation Society in Rondebosch, topic to be announced. But tonight, meet and greet. I got to go, folks. Thanks a lot. Hey, South Africa, what did I tell you all along? It's going to be a bumpy ride, whatever the outcome. But hey, go back to November of 2021, and who told you that the ANC would do no better than 38 to 42% in this election in this year, 2.5 years ago? Who told you that? Did News 24 tell you that? Did the Daily Maverick tell you that? Did SABC? Did EWN? No, none of them told you that. I told you that. And at this point, it looks like I'm going to be correct. So who's going to crow? I'm going to crow. Anyway, thanks a lot, everybody. Catch you later. I got to run. Hopefully I'll see you at the meet and greet tonight if you can make it. Cheers. Thank you very much.